everybody, welcome back to English and the City. I'm Nars. How's your day? Today we are going to talk about getting a driver's license. Through my story, you will get information regarding resources available to help you prepare the test, and what the test process is like, and what are the situations you might have. So, are you ready? Buckle up. Let's go. After I got the job and a more permanent place to stay, the next thing to take care of is my driver's license. Since the company is located outside of Boston, public transportation is not as convenient in that area. Like, there's only one bus goes to that area, and it runs on a fixed schedule during the most of the day. All of a sudden, getting a car became super critical to me. So what I did was, as soon as I got the offer from the company, I signed up to a driving school. And yeah, it is common that in this area people don't go to driving schools. But I think there are benefits to it, especially for experienced drivers like me. Why? You would ask, right? If you already know how to drive, why do you bother? First, when it comes to a test, it's better to do it by the book. Plus, I didn't know how different the rules of road were between Taiwan and the United States. But the one thing I knew was I couldn't afford to fail the test because of the timeline and money. Especially now I need every penny of my money to get a car. I really don't want to risk having to take the test again. And let me tell you, it was the right thing to do. The money was well spent. So, even though we call it a driving school, there's no campus. You got a driving coach, a car, and then you practice on the street. The driving coach first walking me through the regulations and some basic stuff, like how to handle the steering wheel, check the meter, and make sure everybody's seatbelt is on. This one is super important because you have to bring a backseat passenger with you to the test, and you will fail the test right away if the passenger's seatbelt is not on. The examiner will ask you to get out of the car just like that. It's not negotiable. Something else about doing the test through a driving school is, in the metro area, there is normally a waiting list to schedule the test. Sometimes people have to wait for a month or even longer to take the test. With driving school, they will check the surrounding areas for availability. So I was lucky. I got my appointment in like a week or two. And on the test day, you just go with the driving school. It was super helpful because I didn't have to worry about the commute. So here came my test date. We got to the DMV in a small town outside of Boston. We didn't wait for long before the test started. There were like 2 or 3 examiners in charge of the test that day. And one of the examiners was a serious looking guy. I heard he had already failed a few people that morning. I was secretly praying not having him in my car during the test. And guess what? Murphy's Law always works. He was the one I got. I was like, shoot! I was nervous even before I got into the car. I got into the car and the examiner double-checked my name and who I was. After that, I was like, okay, rear mirror checked, passenger's seatbelt checked, both hands in the right place. Good. Time to go. I started slow, and it's always the best strategy to start slow. Let me tell you, you might be a fantastic driver who can do hundreds of donuts and not get dizzy. But this is not a place for you to show off your driving skills. You are here to show the examiner that you can handle the car and you are a safe driver. One of the other guys from the same driving school failed the test because he blew the red light as soon as he left the lot. He was going too fast, and it was too late for him to stop. He almost hit a pedestrian. So my test was going okay until the examiner asked me to do a parallel parking. I was like ready, and I did it. And then I realized my car was too far away from the curb. So I want to fix it. And to fix it, I just kept going backward and just keep adjusting. And the examiner was like, stop, stop, stop. And I didn't stop. I just kept going. Finally, he hit the brake in his side. And he looked at me. He was like, I told you to stop. Why didn't you stop? You understand English, right? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm just nervous. I was just too nervous. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. He was like, okay, fine. Don't do it again, okay? If I tell you to do something, you do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I know. I'll do it. I'm sorry. And I understand. So that was okay. Then he asked me to do the parallel parking again. And this time I was like, okay, I want to do it right. So, get my car at the right position, and then start doing it. This time, I was too close to the curb. And I remember somebody told me that if the tire touched the curb, that I failed the test. I was like, shoot. I think I was maybe like, I don't know, an inch away from the curb. So I was like, I have to fix it. And then I just kept going slow, very, very slow. And I think both the examiner and the coach in the back seat, they stopped breathing because it was pass or fail. It was so quiet. So I finally did it. I was like, phew. So I was okay. So everything was like, woohoo, it's okay. Yeah, I was happy until the next one. So the examiner asked me to pull right into another street. And then all of a sudden he was like, now do downhill parking. And I was like, what? Downhill parking? He was like, yeah, downhill parking. And I kept searching my database. Downhill parking, downhill parking, downhill parking. And nothing comes back. I was like, shoot, what do I do? Because I was totally blank. And the examiner looked at me like I didn't do anything. I didn't respond at all. And then he looked back at the coach in the back seat. He was like, did you cover downhill parking in the class? And the coach was like, we did. We covered it. She should be able to do it. And the coach looked at me. He was like, downhill parking. And I was still, shutting down. It's like I was stuck. And then he looked at the coach again. He was like, I don't know what to do here. If she doesn't know what downhill parking is, I don't know. So he looked at me again. He was like, downhill parking. At that point of time, I knew I was about to fail the test. And I have to do something right away. So I was like, yeah, but there's no hill. And the examiner looked at me like unbelievable. He was like, use your imagination. And I was like, all of a sudden, it's like the bug in my head was fixed. I knew what to do right away. I need to turn my wheel against the curb so that the car won't slide down. That's what it was about. So I did it. It was like, whew. I was so happy. And then that was the last one. So after that, we went back to the lot. And that was it. And that day, the same driving school, 6 people, and 3 failed, 3 passed, and I was one of the 3 passed. I was so happy. I'm like, yay! I got my driver's license. Woohoo! I think the examiner is the kind of person who looks mean but has a soft heart. He didn't smile, but he gave me time and chances to do my thing. Thank you. So, if you are taking a driving test, remember, don't go fast. Do exactly what the examiner says. And use your imagination. That's very important, okay? So, that's my story. What's yours? Leave a comment down there. Share your experience with us. In the next video, we are going to talk about buying a car. Now I have my driver's license, I have to buy a car. I can buy a car. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't like that experience. And it took me 3 tries, 6 years to do it right. That's it for today. We'll be back. Talk to you then. Bye.